I hope you take this in the spirit it's intended after what's been going on in East Norwalk, but what's the actual mechanism, Steve, for how things would get modified in here? Let's say there's an area of the city that, you know, is lobbying for a change, either to add something in or change it or delete it or move it back the way it was. What's the mechanism for that, and who actually decides that? Is it just interpreted by staff and your recommendation to the commission? Does it have to do with how many people are asking for it? Is it the squeaky wheel method that would be used, or depending on the area of city and affluence, perhaps? I just want to know what would happen if someone was strongly opposed to or in favor of something that they wanted changed. How would that happen?
So we have, in addition to meetings like tonight, we have the other meetings we set up. So we'll be taking comment at that point through the district meetings as well as any neighborhood meetings. We also have an online submittal form where you can put in comments or questions. Our goal is to tabulate all the materials by the different articles within the regulations as like, you know, in a comment format, and then have a staff response to each one of those. And we haven't quite figured out if we're going to do those weekly or bi-weekly, or when we're going to, you know, quite get all those tabulated, but we'll get that back to the commission, because ultimately the commission will have to consider all the comments and questions and then make a decision on what they want to incorporate, what they want to change. It's their call at the end of the day. But I don't think, you know, to some of your points, you can't make land use decisions based on popularity or anything else. It has to be on what the best policy and best outcome is for the city, which is really the only governing factors that our staff uses when we make any recommendations.
Well, that's fair enough. And I would just add to that then that much of the basis for this, as all the planning you do, has to tie into the POCD, and we get that. But I just can't miss another opportunity, like you hear from other people, to say that the POCD that was approved wasn't very popular. There was a lot of opposition
that's
to it.
based on
So,
who you're talking to, Diane. I don't think that's a fair comment or an accurate.
Okay. I definitely think it's fair and accurate based on the feedback of the community, but we don't have to debate that here. So my concern is then in the example of something where, you know, the commission themselves are trusting staff's recommendation and the consultants, in the instance where, say, you have 1,000 people come out and are lobbying for or against something to be modified in this. You know, isn't that going to weigh on the decision of when you say that the commission is going to decide ultimately what's best for the planning of the city? Almost, I want to say, you know, public hearings sometimes are just that you're holding your own hearing in public, and it's not really to hear from the public. So there's a disconnect there between hearing from the public in that magnitude, and then the changes not being made within legal things. I mean, of course, if they're asking for something and there's some statutory reason you can't do it, you know, whatever. But
well, I mean, I don't. This is probably not the appropriate time or place for the conversation. And ultimately, it's the commission's call on what gets approved and what doesn't get approved. I can speak for myself only, and speaking as a staff member, if there's 2,000 people that think something's a bad idea because they don't want it in their neighborhood, but if my thinking is it's something that's better for the city for the long term, I'm going to advocate for it till I'm blue in the face. And if ultimately the commission decides against me, then they decide against me, and that's their call. They're the body that makes the final decision.
Okay, I'll leave it with these 2 points then so that the commission will understand the position of neighborhood associations when it does fall to us to encourage people, whether they're for something or against something, to speak up and to be engaged and to write and to email and to phone people.